Like, I really believe in like developers should be focusing more on like innovating and like shipping like cool features, right? I think like that's the future for like a lot of companies and things like that. Like they, for example, like Shopify should just focus on making the merchant's life better and shipping features, not focusing on like fixing bugs or fixing things like these, or like just like going around and fixing like stupid things that they don't want to do. I was working an entire month on just like bug fixing at Shopify, or like fixing documentation, or like reviewing code. And I was like, there's no way I spend a month of my life like shipping nothing useful to like users. Right. And I feel like that's one way that we can accelerate just like humanity's entire software growth just in general, by like allowing these developers to like stop reviewing code and stop focusing. It's really a crazy thing to say now, like just don't review your code, don't do this, don't do that. But we're working towards a future where that's actually possible. And all they can do is like code with Claude, verify with us, and ship it. And they know that whatever they shipped out is like of the good, of highest standard, good quality, the best possible format. And all they have to focus on is that it works. Once it works, you're done. You just ship it.
Hey,
How's it going?
Alex.
Good, good. How are you? How are you doing today?
Very well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, it's
Cool.
a nice day here in San Francisco. It's like beautiful sunny, so can't
Nice.
complain.
Okay. First of all, welcome to Founder Journeys, where we kind of dive into what early stage startups are building and what cool stuff is happening out there. So we start by having you introduce yourself. So, what's Polarity all about?
Yeah, that's great. So yeah, I guess a little bit of background myself. Yeah, I used to go to the university, or I go to the University of Waterloo. I'm a second year student there studying CS. Polarity, basically, we're like a frontier AI research company. We do research in like context engineering as well as code review and like QA automation. So that's a little bit about us. And we have a product we just released called Paragon, which is the world's best code review tool.
Yet another code review tool, or is it the only one right now?
It's not the only one right now. There's a lot of them, but we're the best, right? So what I mean by that
Okay.
is we find the most issues, we solve the most issues in their code base. We're able to identify greater, deeper seated issues than some of our competitors kind of in the field right now, and that's because some of the like research we used to be able we've been doing in the field.
Okay. So, how did you start with the problem?
Yeah, so it really started back in like kind of like January and February. I used to actually run like a company before Polarity Labs, right? So same three co-founders. We had a company called Pillthought, and it was basically like an agency, and we were doing like web and mobile development for a lot of these companies. And that we kind of got like bored of, I guess, because it was pretty like it was like the same like kind of like cycle over and over, and we felt like we weren't really working towards something kind of greater. So back in January, me and one of my our CTO Shane, we uh we ended up submitting one of our like research pieces to like a conference here in Canada, and we ended up winning like a Google AI Innovation Award for it. So that was super cool for like our context engine. And from that, we kind of pivoted towards like, Polarity Labs and working towards more like context engineering and things like that, because we were talking to like the Google Cloud guys, and they were like, what are you going to do with this, crazy new thing you just built? And we were like, well, we don't really know yet. And back in like March, April, we were like, I think like one of the biggest issues right now is that developers are kind of straying away from writing code, and they're shifting their focus more towards like reviewing it. So we're trying to kind of solve that kind of bottleneck and the problem, and let developers ship code really fast with high quality. And that's what we're all about.
So, you say that developers are moving away from writing code. Is it do you see that as a big shift across almost all ecosystems, or are you only looking at developers who are just starting up and who kind of leaning towards tools that are making it easy?
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's everywhere, honestly. I worked at a big tech. I worked in startups. I worked everywhere I see. People are just like, honestly, they're just coding with AI nowadays. A lot of like developers. Just the last day I was at one of our friends. We went over to like one of their like company, and the guy there was literally coding. He had no code on his screen. All he had was like 4 Claude code instances just running on his computer, and there was no code. He was not looking at it. He was just prompting Claude. He had like 4 of them, and he was just prompting them. So he was like, I mean, he was a developer. He's been a developer for like 5 years, but he was like doing absolutely no coding. He was just letting Claude take over everything. And even at like big startups, like big tech, sorry, when I was working at Shopify, well, we were so encouraged to use like coding tools, right? Like they would really encourage us to like use Claude Code, use Cursor, spend as much money as you need, just use all of these AI tools. So I feel like it's right now more than ever, there's a huge shift towards that kind of aspect of like, hey, we're just going to start coding with AI, and we're going to shift developers' focus more from like writing the code to actually just like reviewing and making sure AI doesn't like churn out a lot of slop.
So to that point, isn't it counterintuitive to think that because if developers are not working on their craft, which is coding, and looking at the fundamentals and building on the fundamentals, and you're suddenly just depending on AI, how do you really correct and how do you really check for whether the code is right or wrong or whether there are flaws anywhere? Isn't that a
Yeah.
problem?
So that's a really great question. And a lot of the tools nowadays, the way they do it is they just honestly just ask like an LLM like Claude. And like, for example, like some of our competitors will ask like an LLM and just be like, what's wrong with my code? And it's like about like 50, 60% right most of the time. But we don't really like, I don't really trust 50, 60% right. So what we do and what we do different with our tool is we ground all of the issues found in real life examples. So every single time one of our like LLMs finds like an issue, what it will actually do is it'll search through a billion GitHub repositories to see if the issue's been found somewhere else. And 99% of the time, like someone's had the same security issue you've had, right? So we look at previous existing issues from real software engineers in the world, and we cross-reference that with the ones that our LLMs find to be able to identify like almost like 100% of the time all of the issues that are correct in your code base because it's using real like human data instead of just like um, making things up and hallucinating.
How far along are you with the product right now?
Yeah, so we as a company we started about like 3 4 months ago, and we raised from like A4 Capital here in San Francisco, and the product we just launched to like 2 weeks ago. I would say like the first iteration. We've just been working really closely with a lot of our companies and teams and clients, like one-on-one kind of things like that, listening to their feedback and just iterating really, really quickly on the idea.
Okay. And when it comes to target users, is it indie developers or are you talking about small enterprises, large enterprises? What's your focus area?
Yeah, so our focus area is like mainly B2B, SMBs, and enterprises with like some sort of like dev team, right? So like the ideal workflow is like you have some sort of developer team, and you know you would just all your developers use Paragon. The cool thing is it like learns from your infrastructure and it learns from like the how you use like all your microservices, how they work, how everything connects together, how your documentation works, and things like that. And that's how it's able to also find a lot of these like deeper seated issues that some other coding review tools wouldn't be able to find.
Okay. So is there a tool that you're replacing with your product?
I guess we're replacing like the developer review cycle, right? Like my current, like back when I was working at Shopify, my would literally like I would code with Claude Code, for example, right? And I would go and review it myself. Like I'd actually have to go through every single line, and then I'd have to like look at the code style for Shopify, and then I have to make sure everything lined up. And then I would actually submit my PR for my boss to review, and then my boss would always have like something to comment about it. And so I had to go back and like fix it, and just there was this whole cycle. So that's kind of like what we're replacing from the dev life cycle. There's like similar tools, but to be honest, a lot of them they don't find like bigger issues, and they just like, hey, we like you forgot like a variable here, things like that.
Okay. So you have multiple things, right? One is quality of code. Second is making sure that whatever is built is actually following the expected workflows or the logic that is required. And third and most important, I think, is vulnerabilities in terms of security, data exposure, stuff like that. So how are you managing each of these things in the
Yeah,
product?
so we built like a lot of the like cool things about it is that like a lot of the things are provided by the company. So for example, for the like code standards, code quality, you like companies can provide like their project documentation or like their current documentation. So like how they write code, like their kind of code style and code guides to the Paragon, and it's gonna remember it as rules. So whenever one of your engineers is gonna ship a PR, it's gonna go basically through like a long checklist saying is the engineer's code well documented? Does it follow the code style? Does it follow this like whatever a company has outlined and things like that? And for the security part, we do crazy security vulnerabilities, right? So we check, like I said, we check like security vulnerabilities against like a billion repositories, against existing issues. We have like a database of just known security issues in like Python, JavaScript, TypeScript, and things like that. And like if for like code quality wise, what we do is we like reference your entire infrastructure, right? So we'll take a look at like how does everything play together? Is what you wrote maybe like it's not like an issue now, but it might be an issue in the future, or it might not like you might not see an impact now, but maybe when we're like when you look down the pipeline to like something like Supabase or like external microservices, it might be an issue back then. And yeah, our agent is able to handle all of these with like pretty good accuracy.
So if someone is using a product like, let's say something that is completely wipe coded, right? Like a Lovable or anything or some other product or even Cloud Code for that matter. If you give it enough instructions, and developers are now realizing, right? You can build skills, you can give very clear instructions, you can have a very detailed document, you can even contextualize it with what to do, what not to do, and stuff like that. So isn't that already taking care of a lot of the capabilities that existing apps or existing tools can deliver?
Yeah. So the thing about that is that Claude Code and other tools like Cursor, Codex are like generalist, right? They're not like made just for code reviews. They're not made just for do that, and they don't have the certain tool sets as well as like rules and following that like kind of our Paragon agent has, as well as the context engineering behind it, right? So Claude Code, for example, is made to do everything: to review code, to generate code, to like build pipelines, and because it has such a broad kind of aspect, it doesn't really do well at like code review part of the thing, right? When we actually benchmarked it, we ended up like we took like when we did our benchmarks, we took 25 real open source repositories, and we found 117 PRs with like real issues linked by real software engineers. When we gave all those code bases to like our Paragon deep review, and we compared to like Claude Code, for example, when we gave it the exact same instructions, we were able to find at least like 50 to 70% more issues than Claude Code is able to find in and of itself with just asking the exact same thing to both of the agents.
Okay. So just for argument's sake, you mentioned that this person that who you met recently, they had multiple agents, Claude agents doing stuff at the same time, and they're just looking at it and giving it prompts. So I could have an agent that's only just kind of, uh, you know, focusing on the compliance part of it, or the, the checking, the review part of it. And I have another agent that is doing the building part of it. So you can actually have these work in parallel, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like we actually made like Claude Code has a review part. So we have like if you do like slash review on Claude Code, it makes like a review agent.
Oh,
We,
okay,
we,
that way.
we
Okay,
tested that. So we tested the review agent part of Claude Code, and
okay.
yeah, it just performed worse.
Oh, okay, got it. So when it comes to context, you're saying that your product can have much better context retention with regard to this capability.
Yeah, so that's kind of like one of the main like focuses of our research, and it's kind of where we won the Google Award engine in our research and like context engineering space. So that's one of the main things that makes like our Paragon agent so much better than like just using Claude Code or just using Codex. We only provide it with the right amount of context, so not too much, not too little. The reason why you don't give it too much is going to start hallucinating, right? So if I were to fill up Claude Code's entire, like for example, Sonnet 1 million context window, it would just start hallucinating issues. It would tell me stuff that doesn't even exist. But if I don't give it enough context, then it's not going to find enough issues, right? So we're able to build like complex context graphs of like your files, your folders, your infrastructure, and things like that, and provide it in such a minimized package to our agent that like it's able to like hit issues super quick. So for example, like an example like on our own like code base on our dashboard, the entire infrastructure, file graph, everything compacts down to a size of like 27,000 tokens, and that's all we give the agent. So we have such a deep understanding. It's just small, like minimized package that we ship to the agent that it has like it has its hallucination rate so low while maintaining the exact same accuracy, and that's what we're able to get all these like crazy performance numbers on.
If somebody is working on an app, let's say, and is dealing across multiple environments, and is so most in most cases now, and this again, I'm recalling from something that's happened recently with somebody I've interacted with. They're building an app, they're using a no-code tool, or a vibe coding tool. They get to 90% of it. They can test the app, they can see it. But when they want to customize it, they start struggling. And that's where they go into long conversations with the agent that is built into that tool. And it starts hallucinating the hell out, because no matter how much of guardrailing you put in, it still doesn't do it. Meaning it just goes into a loop after a certain point. How do you prevent things like that? Or does your product kind of take into account those kind of things and deal with it?
Yeah. So our product, in terms of like issue handling, it automatically compacts context and like restarts it. So like it like assumes the user, like it doesn't like it assumes the user has no clue how to use it or things like that, right? So
Okay.
whenever you kick off, for example, a deep review, it totally wipes the context and focuses only on your request, right? So one of that aspects is the user can't have like a long conversation with it. and can't fill up its entire context window. So what it'll do is it'll instead remember certain snippets and index them via like a vector store embedding technology, and then it's gonna go ahead and retrieve them using we have a special like RAG pipeline, and with that, it's able to still maintain the memory and that sort of the same efficiency, while at the same time allowing it to not hallucinate and actually find a lot of these issues. So like our agents just like focus around code review, right? Or like reviewing code, reviewing infrastructure, things like that. It's not really good at it's not good at writing code, right? I'm not saying like we're like better than Claude at writing code. We're just better at Claude than like at like reviewing code and things like that and making sure everything's like aligned.
Yeah. So if let's say I'm using Claude Code with my CLI, I can actually use your product as a plugin to make sure it's kind of monitoring what is being churned out. Correct?
No, we have like our product is a CLI, right? So like basically like
Okay.
you spin our thing up, like you literally do like Paragon, right? Like you do Claude Code. And you can tell like what you want to review. Review PRs, I want to review like files, I want to review folders, I want to review a section of my code base, things like that. And what you can do is you can upload preferences, you can upload infrastructure, you can upload documentation. On our dashboard, you can upload rules for it to follow and things like that across your entire organization. And it's gonna remember those, right? So like a use case would be, for example, just today, before I hop in the meeting, like I ship a PR. So for example, I code a new feature for our platform, and then I push the PR, and then I just open our CLI and go, hey, review my PR, press enter, and then I just let it go. And it's going to automatically find the issues for me, find everything that's wrong, and then I can copy a prompt and paste it straight into Claude Code and be like, fix this, and it's going to fix it. And the prompt's going to have all the context that Claude needs and everything. It's going to immediately go and fix it, and then my PR is all good.
Got it. No, I was thinking about end-to-end automation, right? So I've got the Cloud agent building stuff, and then it's pushing it to your product, and it's reviewing it and giving it back to the agent, and then the agent kind of fixes the thing. You know what
Exactly.
I
Yeah,
mean?
that's kind of how it works right now.
Yeah. Okay.
We're actually working towards like an MCP tool where it integrates directly into Claude Code, right? So
Yeah.
Claude Code will be able to index or access Paragon's knowledge base. It's going to be able to access Paragon's issues and its search. So those are the three main things that Paragon does really well. So it has a really great knowledge base with the search. It has a really good code search functionality across multiple repositories in your organization. And another thing it does is it has a really good like issue handling, right? So it's really able to like find like root causes for issues. So how you said Claude
Okay.
Code keeps like going in circles, it's
Yeah.
able to identify what is the deeper seated issue here.
That's the biggest challenge with regard to using any of the tools available now, that you need to really, really be careful in terms of what it's doing after a certain point in time. You have to make sure, and you're double checking, triple checking what the output is all the time. And what I've seen recently is that you have to actually, even if it is, and that's, I think that's a problem with long conversations after some time, right? So you have to kind of chunk even your requirements and put it in in different chats to make sure that features are built out properly, right? So
Exactly.
yeah,
Like the context is the name of the game right now. Like agents
yeah,
are like LLMs are great, but the second you start giving it like proper
long,
context is like
yeah.
that's the future.
So do you see your product being available as plugins to all these other tools that are out there right now, meaning as a review plugin kind of a thing?
100%. That's kind of like where we're working towards kind of like the new features. So we're working to like implement with like Claude Code, Codex, Cursor, things like that. The spaces, I feel like the coder, we're not going to make our own agent because I feel like the space is already really like overcrowded. But allowing these people to use like the tools and like the knowledge base and things that like Paragon has in and of itself, like Claude or things like that, I think it's a really powerful tool that people are going to use. We're starting beta testing pretty soon on these new tools, so I'll have to see how really great it is, how much
Okay.
better my own Claude Code. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Did you ever consider having this as a proactive tool rather than a post development, or rather, like rather than a review tool?
So there is actually like a proactive aspect to it. You can turn on like automated PR reviews. So every single time like a developer makes a PR, it's automatically gonna look through the PR, find issues, and then tell you in like a comment, right? Like say like, hey, these are the issues I found. This is the severity. This is why, how to fix them, things like that. So there's that aspect to it. In terms of more like proactivity, I think that's about it we have from our tool, but we haven't really explored that aspect more, I guess. So
Also, the option of having a lot of plug and play. How do I say this? Because you have a reference of all the information across various code bases, if you're training on GitHub and stuff like that, right? And if you have a mechanism by which you know the standard used across various functions required, isn't that easier to recommend?
Yeah. So I mean, like that's like one of the like main features why Paragon's able to find like better issues than like a lot of other code bases because it uses like real life, real software engineering issues, right? It doesn't just rely on like LLM's like own thoughts because they're good, but they're not 100%, right? It's maybe like 80% or like 70% there. Relying on real like searching through real human issues that have actually existed and like real human software engineers said, yeah, that's an issue. That's where you really unlock the true performance of like being able to find like issues. Because like the thing is, if you've had an issue before, someone else has probably had in the world. There's like millions of like tens of millions, hundreds of millions of like software engineers in the world. So if you've had an issue, someone else has probably had the same issue before in the world, and he's probably put it on GitHub or he's put it on like GitLab or he's put it somewhere out there to be like you can search like Stack Overflow and find the same thing.
Yeah, no, I get that. What I meant to say is, if I'm in an org and I'm building multiple applications, and I already have certain artifacts that are created by my developers, right? Which have been tested. They've maybe, they've gone through the whole process of being reviewed and they're approved for use. Let's call it that, for, let's say, auth flows as an example, right? So then your tool can actually probably recommend this, that, okay, this is the only thing, make sure that you're using only this everywhere as an object,
Yeah, so it can do that.
you
So we
know?
have rules on the like our tool, right? So for example, it's super smart. So you can tell it like this is the only approved auth flow. All of our components must look like this. Our color has to be blue. And then every single time when your developer ships a PR and for example the color isn't blue or like it uses the wrong auth flow or like it doesn't integrate well, Paragon's gonna flag that issue. It's gonna say like, hey, the only approved auth flow is this. Don't do that. Like don't do whatever you're doing. Please switch it over to this, right?
Yeah, yeah. So basically, can clients create their own library of these objects to be used?
We have like rules in our platform and they can create their own rules, their own like library of like things to like make sure my developers use this and it will flag all these issues, right? So for example, whenever your developer doesn't use that, it'll tell them, hey, you didn't use that.
Okay. And I can also reference, again, this is just kind of checking as to what you're thinking of on this. So I can also reference third-party standardized object libraries and say, this is what you're going to use, stuff
Yep.
like that.
So by default it does that. So it follows like
Okay.
for example like Python like PEP8 style,
Okay.
which is like the I guess the default international one which people use. But what we found is most people like to use their own. Like every company likes to use their own, so they end up just like putting their own like rule set.
What are the current challenges you're facing with regard to enterprise?
Trust, trust is a big one. That's probably like the biggest one, to be honest. Trust, data, privacy, encryption. Everyone's looking at us like, oh, you're like the small company. You guys just started. Um, and it's like there's no real like trust in the game. Like I literally, I had a meeting yesterday with like a 50-person dev team in their office, and it was like this like whole boardroom set up, and they had me like presenting to like the CTO and like as like their head of product, head of everything, and like the biggest part, like they were like, "This is cool, this is great, I would use this," but then their main question was like, "What's your biggest? Who's using you right now? Who's using you currently? Who are your current users? Can
Yeah.
you name any companies that we know?" And I'm like, "Well, like." No, not really. You'd be probably one of our biggest ones, right? Or like, how's your data encryption, your data privacy? Do you have audit logs of the whole last year? And I was like, hey man, I got audit logs for like the last like 3 weeks. Like, what do you want?
Yeah. Okay. So how are you solving for it, really? Meaning in terms of making sure that you're at least considered, you get these pilots that you're looking for and stuff like that.
So one of the main things we're trying to do right now is we're trying to push hard towards like on-prem. We're trying to make a package for like on-prem deployment. So we already have like we already have SOC 2, and we already have a lot of like data governance policies. Like we don't train on your data, we don't store your data, we don't do any of this. But the second you start dealing with like a lot of these like enterprises and like their like personal like source code data, like their trade secrets, like everything they do needs to be like super tightly encrypted. So one of the biggest things is like a lot of enterprise surprisingly like on-prem deployments. So if I tell you like, hey, I will give you the license. You can set it up yourself. You can do all of this. I won't even touch your data. You can use your own AWS. You can use your own storage, everything. All of the times you're like, okay, I like that, or like this makes sense. But the one thing with that is not really scalable long term to have to provide all these like on-prem deployments to these like specific customers. And it's much more easier to have it like on your own cloud. But I know that like a lot of like enterprises like this, like when I was working back with like one of my first like I guess a startup, we would do everything on prem. Like everything would be on prem. Like almost every package we'd have, they'd have it on prem.
So have you considered looking at the indie developer movement or people who are doing smaller stuff, meaning, that because you have so many tools and every other person now, the whole message is that you don't need to know how to code. You can just, as long as you understand what you want to build, you can build stuff out very soon today. So is it because that ecosystem is growing so fast, don't you think you have a better case for that marketplace?
We're actually that's what we're kind of like working to like branch out into towards. Like I said, the main like pain point hitter, the big issue with like a lot of like vibe coders is they don't really care about like the security aspect of their code, and that's kind of what we started with Paragon. Like the main kind of like aspects of Paragon was like code quality, as well as like security in the code and things like that. But a lot of our like when we did like I guess like pilots and tests, like a lot of our like B2C, like some of our my friends who are just like regular indie developers, they were like it's cool, but like I don't really care if my code is good quality. I don't really care if it's like it's secure, right? I just want to like, if it works, it works, right? But what I'm realizing is when we're moving towards more of these tools like issue detection and like knowledge base and like searching and things like that, these do actually have like real applications that are valuable to like the indie developer. And we're looking to actually explore that field more so towards the future when it comes to actually, once we actually finally release these features and we're able to like benchmark it against like to make sure like, hey, like I'm not just saying this, like if you use us and you use Cloud Code, you're much better than just doing it by yourself. When we're able to get kind of like that performance done and when, all of our research is kind of finalized, I'm definitely thinking of exploring that market.
Yeah, because there are some tools already out there which, if you build an app, let's say you're building for iOS, an iOS app, and just in the interface of that product, the builder itself, they do a review of your app and they give you feedback on whether it meets all the requirements by as per the Apple Store submission, and they have a mechanism by which you can just kind of click to fix, and it kind of the agent runs and fixes those issues, right? So things like that.
No, I used to deploy apps in the App Store. I understand it's a crazy review for Apple, so that's quite something. I mean, Android's a lot easier, but like you have to have like 30 accounts or something. No, we're actually like we're also like looking towards that because our tool is so customizable. You can like literally like drop inside of it the entire Apple app requirements into the rules, and it's gonna like make sure you follow it. You can honestly just like take the entire, I don't know how long the page document, but Apple has like on their website, they have like a requirements for each app on the App Store and like everything it needs to meet. And you can honestly just take that, drop it in the rule set, and just like Paragon will remember it. And then you can, when you ask it to review, it's gonna reference that.
So why not standardize these templates? Meaning they have a standard set of guidelines for submission to the App Store. So why not standardize that as a available, ready, one-click review that's available in your product?
Mainly because like most of our clients have been like SMBs, medium business and enterprises who focus more on like apps.
Internal applications, yeah.
We haven't really had anybody yet that has actually like come up with like mobile apps or things like that. But that's
Right.
definitely something to look forward to. Like once we actually do pilot like this new feature, if a lot of people are saying like, hey, I'd love if this was a template for like mobile apps. I'd love if you could do like Apple Apps Review and it would like make that. Then yeah, we definitely implement something like that in the future. But that's definitely something on our like radar to look out for.
Yeah, because it's a massive, that's a very large marketplace, right?
100%. Yeah, build your own apps is like huge right now. Like I
Right.
was just talking to my barber. My barber wanted to like build his own app. I was like, "Have you heard of Lovable?" And he was like, "What? What's Lovable?" Yeah, no clue. And I showed him to him. He was like, "Oh my god, this is insane."
Yeah. No, it's funny you say that because I was talking to the cleaners who come into my home to clean stuff, and then we said, "What service do you use?" They're still working with Google Sheets and Calendar. So I was like, "Okay, there's you can easily build an app for this." But they're not in this space, so they don't think about it like that.
That's another like crazy thing. Like I don't really realize how like in the space I am, but whenever I talk to like other people, for example, like you like I'm surprised you might people that don't know Lovable, for example, but like to me it's like such a like a common thing, or like Claude
Yeah.
Code or like Cursor. I met a developer the last day who just didn't know what Cursor was, and I was like amazed. Like how can you like not know what Cursor is? And this guy was writing his code like using ChatGPT, right? Like he would like
Yeah.
talk to ChatGPT and he's still pasting the snippets over. And I show him Cursor and he was like, "Oh my god, this the next best thing." And I was like, "Bro, I've had this for like the last 2 years. What are you talking about?"
No, that's a reality of a lot of people who are in the in this industry. They're so caught up in their day to day doing building stuff that they don't realize they don't have the time to look up and explore other things. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Which is why they miss out. And of course, being in San Francisco or this area, the Bay Area, typically you will see many more people who are involved in product and who are up to speed with what's happening, because every day there's some of us who are like, oh man, there's too much happening too fast. How do you keep up, right? And there's some people who are like just comfortable in what they're doing, and that's it. They don't care about anything else.
No,
So,
exactly. San Francisco has actually been like a really huge shock because there's like so many tech people here who know what's going on. Like compared to like Canada and Waterloo, it's like a different it's like a different game, right? There's a lot of Canadians in San Francisco. Surprisingly, there's a lot
oh
of
yeah,
there's a huge
yeah.
amount. Like there's so many like Canadian events and like Canadian meetups. Like there's more events here about Canada than there is back in like actual Canada. So it's crazy. Um, but
Cool.
no, it's crazy how like a lot of people like don't really like investigate these tools or like learn to the space. And I feel like we're in such like a bubble where we're like I'm always on X or like I always hear like about the new tool the second it comes out, right? Um, so to like a lot of these people, I'm like, well, how do you not know about Cursor? How do you not know about Cloud Code? But like as you said, yeah, like a lot of people are just comfortable in like whatever they're doing on day to day, and they just don't want to do anything else.
So that brings me to a very interesting question for you. When it comes to when you have developers who are going to be using this tool, right? And if they themselves are not aware of what's the latest thing, and they are waiting for their companies to give them direction on the tools to use, right? Even Copilot being adopted, things like that has took some time. So because of such a big problem, then how do you make sure that there is interest in what you bring to the table? How do you make sure, how do you kind of get people to try out your product? So do you have a thought of, an early, a way for developers to try the product, like it, and then they evangelize the product internally into their orgs, kind of a thing?
So yeah, that's I guess like a bottoms up sales approach, which is something we're like looking towards. Like right now, we're like still in research preview, right? So we're still like we have a wait list. You gotta sign up on our wait list, like book an onboarding with us about your team, tell us about your company and things like that, and then we'll get you set up on the platform. And that's just because we're like ruling out like we're in alpha, so we're like ruling out a lot of like bugs and things like that. And we're looking to deploy like in the next coming weeks to like general availability, so like developers can actually like hop on the platform, free trial. You can try it out. I'll find like all your bugs in your code, and then you go to your boss, say like, "Whoa, man, I just reviewed my whole code, my PR in like 5 minutes instead of five
All right.
hours." But that's definitely something we're considering because I do the same thing. I'm always like, I love to try tools, and then if the tool is really good and it actually does what it claims, like, hey, I'm all for it, right? I'm not really like a person to be sold to. And I don't think a lot of developers are, right? A lot of developers, I just like I click get started, and I try to go as fast as I can to like install it and get used to it. And that's what I'm trying to do with like Paragon, right? Like you literally install it in like one CLI, and you click a link, you get your auth, you sign up, you get your API key, and you put it in, you're good to go. It's like I think under like 1 minute to like set up and use the tool. So that's one of the things I focus on a lot because I saw with a lot of like existing tools, the process was like super long. Like it was like a long onboarding, like you had like 10 steps, connect to your repositories. Like I don't want to do all that. I just want to like try it out as fast as possible.
Right. Yeah, so I think that's going to be a key thing. Once you have a community option where people can sign up early and get access, and secondly, of course, they have a channel wherein they can share stuff that they're wanting to build and give you feedback on the product. Obviously, it grows from there.
100%. Yeah, no. That's kind of where we're leaning towards when we get like general availability. We've been seeing some really good things with our enterprise pilots, but we are looking towards more like the B2C space because I do see how this tool could be adopted for like vibe coders or people in the space or just people in general who are like really pissed off at Claude Code about like the way it like writes their code. Because I know I have that like I have a huge issue with that, right? Like half the time, like I ask it to do something and it just doesn't do it, and it keeps doesn't do it. And I start a new chat, it still doesn't do it. It doesn't want to do it. Like there's all these issues that it's missing, and a lot of the time I realize that it's missing context, right? So for example, like one of my like engineers, we had like he had like an issue and he kept prompting Claude Code, and then like I ended up like looking through it, and apparently like Claude Code just didn't know what our Supabase like table was, for example, right?
Right.
So it didn't know what our database looked like. It just didn't know a lot of these things. It was trying to like make its own columns, and like it was trying to like make its own like SQLite DB or like Postgres, and I was like, no, don't do all that. And like we pasted in the Supabase table, and it was like, oh, now I know what it exists. Now I know how to fix it. So that's some of the things that we're working towards fixing with this kind of our new tool.
Cool to see how you guys are approaching it. So you said next week is when you kind of launch the first program for people to come on board, the general availability.
Next week, maybe next like 2 weeks, we're still like building out until we think it's like pretty good to be deployed and like not like I guess like into to a state where like one, it's easy to use, and two, it's like really like intuitive, like off the bat you can like get straight value from it. So like right now we have like we're like in waitlist research preview. So like if you sign up on our waitlist and you're like a cool person, we're probably gonna accept you and you can probably like go ahead and try our tool. Or just in general, like a
Okay.
lot of people will like sign up or like, oh, I'd love to try this out. I'm like, hey man, go ahead, try it out. We're just working on focusing on scaling our kind of services and just initial like bug patches, things like that. Like when the first week we launched, we got like a lot of like bugs or like interesting use cases that the people would like use that we didn't even think like, oh, how would someone like use that, right? Because you're not gonna find a bunch of bugs yourself unless you let your users test for you.
Have you kind of prioritized the key areas that your product should focus on? For example, some people may look at it only for code quality. Some people may look at it for specifically vulnerabilities. Some people may look at it for making sure that all their internal repos are connected well. Things like that, right? Meaning, what are the various segments of the product that you've identified?
So yeah, one of our like I guess like the main workflow right now is people like using it to review their PRs and making sure everything matches. Like one, everything is like secure. 'Cause it's the best at finding security vulnerabilities, best at finding issues. Two, like all their code is like matches company style, right? Like that's one of the biggest things. Another thing I feel like that's like really repetitive, like AIs can just do. And then another thing is like the maintainability and the performance aspect of the code, right? Like is this gonna be like sure I might have implemented this new like function or this new feature, but does this like conflict with something else or will this become an issue later in kind of like the development life cycle, like technical debt reduction?
I don't know how much of conversation goes into the whole concept of reducing technical debt along the product life cycle, because it's never, I don't know how often it comes up when people are actually starting off on their products. I think this is something that evolves as they start building more and more things into it, and then they start kind of pivoting and stuff like that, right? What do you think?
Honestly, I'm seeing like I'm taking this straight from statistic, but developer like this year alone, technical debt has grown by 50%, which is another one of
Okay.
the like aspects that we aim to solve with this. And the reason why technical debt keeps growing is because people code with AI, and AI will make things that are just not good. Like AI will, and like Claude Code's goal is to solve your prompt, right? It's not to solve your prompt in a good way, right? Like if you tell Claude Code implement this new feature, it's just going to implement that feature. If it breaks three other features, that's not Claude Code's issue, right? All its issue is that it solved your one concern. So we're trying to build into our tool a way to like prevent that, right? So in like technical debt prevention, saying like, hey, like I know Claude Code just built this out, but like you just broke the rest of your project.
But haven't we moved away from just the prompt only approach to things? Because you have products wherein people are saying just state what you want to build, and then you don't have to prompt it step by step. So I'm saying that there is a line of products that are coming up with that philosophy as well.
Thing is, when you start looking at larger and larger and larger code bases for the initial kind of like project, like if I told Cloud Code right now, building like a recipe app, it's gonna do it. But once you get to like large enterprise scale systems, like for example, like if I took like any one of like the startups we're working with and said like, hey, Claude Code, implement this new feature. The thing is, there's no way for it to ingest the entire code base. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna ingest only the folder or the segment that it deems necessary for it to implement the new feature. And because of that, it'll end up like not looking or not cross-referencing the entirety of the product. So it just doesn't know if it's breaking something else, right? And I've actually I've seen this a lot using it at like Shopify, right? Like for example, like I'd implement a new feature with like Claude Code, and then I'd run the test, and all of a sudden like a test and like a totally separate section of the app would break. And then I trace it back, and it was because of like one of the like arguments, for example, that Claude Code added was like, it wasn't valid in like a certain schema, but Claude Code just never had that knowledge, or like Cursor never had that knowledge to like be able to like go and look at the entire code base just because of the context window.
Do you see any kind of a risk to your current moat that you have? Meaning someone like a Gemini can easily come up with, because they also have access to pretty much all the code that's out there, right? In a way, for them to come up with a review-based feature wouldn't take too long, right?
Yeah. So a lot of like people they do already have review tools. Claude has a review tool, Codex has a review tool, like everybody has a review tool. But the thing is they're not focused on the issue, right? Anthropic's purpose is not reviewing, right? They're not really focusing really deeply on code reviewing. We have like our entire thing is we're a research company focusing on the our new product Paragon, which just reviews, and that's what gives us kind of like the edge over a lot of these like competitors. Right? We're able to one ship really fast, and two we're super focused on just this one issue. So we have like a really deep like I guess like we can move faster and move better than a lot of these competitors.
All right. Current challenges?
Current challenges. Enterprise clients and trust. Honestly, that's one of the biggest thing. Another thing is honestly like engineering at speed. Like I'm already letting Paragon review all my code, so I'm not even doing that myself. But just in general, like we have so many like feature requests. Like I just have a list of like feature requests from like clients, or like every single time I get in the meeting, they'll say like, "Wow, it'd be really cool if I can do this," and I'm like, "Okay, I'll get that done." And then I just add it to the list. It's like a huge list of like things to do, and that it's really like hard for that to like stack up and in congruence with like just doing meetings, right? Like right now we're having about like the teams having like 5 to 6 discovery meetings per day with like actual teams from like our inbound and like a little bit of our outbound. So it's really it's becoming hard to like stack my time between like doing like 6 30-minute meetings a day, and then I gotta like eat, and then I gotta go to the gym, and then I gotta like still implement this feature. Um, because like yeah, we're only 2 engineers currently. And we're two, so our team is four big. So we're 2 engineers and we have 2 people focusing on like growth and like scaling the product and like things like that.
Okay. So are you currently looking to hire people?
Not currently, not like right now in this moment, but definitely looking onto the future. We're looking to like we'd probably hire like a design engineer or and a research engineer, right? So one person focusing more on like some of the research aspect of our product and making it better and like cooler. Uh and one person focusing on designing the thing and making it, because like to be honest, like that's really taking up a lot of our time right now. Having everything like, I guess I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, but I want to make sure that like everything, all the UIs look good, they feel good. They're not like, because that's like one of the main things that throws me off of platforms. Like when I first tried CodeRabbit, the biggest thing that threw me off was like their UI was like really bad, and I was like, "There's no way people use this, right?" Like it was not intuitive. It was just like I logged in, it was just a black screen with like a dashboard with like sidebars, and then you click the sidebar, and it's like there's like one thing popping. It was horrible.
Yeah,
So I feel
I
like
can
that
imagine.
throws a lot of people off. I don't know if you feel the
Yeah.
same way.
Oh, I'm a UX design guy, so I completely understand where you're coming from. So I kind of work with startup founders on the same product journey and UX strategies. So talking about the product, is there a demo you'd like to share with viewers?
I'd love to. Let me just pull it up right now. I already have Paragon I have it installed on my computer, obviously. But let me see if I can share my entire screen. Perfect. There you go. Yeah, this is just like a test repository I have really quickly. I'm not going to give away my own code base and secrets, but you can just start it with like, you can either run like the Paragon command, but I have it installed locally right here. And it's using like dev mode. So you just run Paragon, you get it all set up. And it's pretty easy. You just ask it to like either review your code, or you can start a deep review mode by doing shift tab, and it turns that on. So for example, I'm just going to ask it to, I don't know, let me review like this entire folder. Please review this, right? And it's going to go ahead and start the review. You can see spawning a parallel agents. And then you can also continue to chat with this. You can say like, hi, and you can just ask it like for general coding questions and things like that. We can see some of the context window right here and how much context it has, and we can see like some of the workers working and some of the MCPs. Like I have Exa web search connected as one of my MCPs to this. And yeah, you can just like in this chat right here, you can ask it just general questions. Like you can ask it like, I don't know, maybe like I can ask it like a one file, how's the performance on this? And it's gonna go ahead and do a review. And while
Mhm.
you can chat with this while the whole thing actually starts working.
So you can also ask it pointed questions on the repo you've connected to kind of figure out other gaps or other challenges you may have, right?
Yeah, so you can start that. You can also, we have a huge command palette, so you can like do like an infrastructure analysis of your code base. You can index your repository. You can also initialize it, and what initializing it will do is it's going to make like a paragon.md, sh- like this, where Paragon's gonna look through your whole system, and it's gonna find things like your system architecture, all of your API routes in the certain project, some of your external integrations, your authentication workflows, your infrastructure setup, your development setup, your database migration, your deployment process, the development steps, some of the code patterns that you follow, and this is all done automatically. So you literally run the command like well, I can run it while the other one's going. I can run the command Control P, and I can do like initialize project, and it's gonna go ahead and initialize the project for me.
Okay. That's
And
pretty
we can see
cool.
like as this goes, the agents like our deeper view is going and like working by itself.
Mm.
And yeah, another cool thing is they can call multiple tools at once, right? So for example, like Cloud Code might call like one tool wait, one tool wait. This thing can just call an infinite amount of tools at once. So you just like view, glob, and everything, and you're gonna see it just spit out like a bunch of tool calls. And yeah, there you go. it's done. It just finished writing the Paragon.md. You can click allow, and it just like updated the existing one. But if I deleted it, it would make a new one.
Okay. So it also gives you basically the logs and historical reports and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, you can do like a lot of things on this. Like it's like an expert on your entire code base, and it actually works like really well at scale because we actually like index your repository. So big repos still not an issue for us. Like I think one
So
of our
in
clients, sorry,
no, go ahead, go ahead.
I think one of our clients had like a 50,000 file repository, and he was still able to find like certain things in it. So that's kind of crazy.
So I'm thinking that in when you're working with teams and you're kind of, you have multiple people building different things on a, let's say, a large product, you can actually set this to be a standard workflow for everybody, right?
Yes. So you can either share, like, one team, for example, can have Claude.md with all the instructions. So you
Uh,
can have a Paragon.md, and then you can also have a Paragon.json, which the Paragon.json, you can connect any MCP to it. You connect like basically anything. You can also like share like if I were to go right here and I were gonna say, oh, that's just finished. For example, like this is what let me close that out. We'll go back to that. But you can say like, for example, you can tell Paragon to remember things local for this only repository, and you can say like, I don't know, write all code in camel case. And you can see it's going to add it right here to your preferences. And then you can just share this file. You can either leave this file in the repository and commit it to GitHub, and then all your engineers have this, or you can like share it internally, and all Paragon's going to remember this like forever.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And you can also remember things globally, right? So if you do just one hashtag, it's going to save it to paragon.config, and it's like in the global system. So you can also share that around with all your engineers. So everyone's system is going to have the exact same Paragon config automatically.
Nice. Okay.
And yeah, so while I was talking, it actually just finished the deep review, and we can see it finds a bunch of like issues, like a lot of issues. Um, and yeah, so like the red is critical, orange is high, medium is like yellow. So if we can look some of these, for example, like yeah, I forgot to like on this like random project, I forgot to implement rate limiting on endpoints. So that's a pretty big security vulnerability. Because some guy can just use like I forgot like on a bunch of different things to like implement rate limiting, address race conditions in in-memory storage by recommending migration for mutex for critical sections. And you see it actually like also pulls up evidence, right? So EXA is the tool we use to like search through a billion GitHub repositories. So it says evidence EXA confirms in-memory stores are prone to races in concurrent environments. Use DB for production.
So in this case, now if I'm a person who's used the AI to create the code and I'm getting this feedback on the review, because of what we spoke earlier, and I may not be as able to kind of go and dive in and fix a specific problem, what is the typical workflow that you see people following for this?
So you can literally press the button P, and it's going to copy the prompt. And then
Hmm.
you're literally going to open like Claude Code, for example, and you're just going to paste it, and you're going to say fix this. And you're going to press the word enter. And then there you go, you're done.
Yeah, this is what I was thinking about, meaning the products that I've mentioned, right? They have a fix button right away, wherein people can just click on the button to fix the
So
problem,
we
and
have
then
that
it
too.
again runs a review following that. Yeah.
We have that as well. So we have you can actually like, you can actually like approve it, and it will actually spawn workers and fix it.
Uh-huh.
But one of the things we notice is I don't think it's as good as Claude Code. I just don't think it is. Not to like hate on my own product, but I'm just being honest. I don't think it's like, I think Claude.
Yeah, and you mentioned that it's not a code builder, right? You're a reviewer, which I completely appreciate. That yeah, you're sticking to the core skill that you're trying to build in the product.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna. We have the ability to if you want to, but I just don't think it's that great. Like it's worse than Claude Code. I don't think it's as good as Cursor. So to me, I honestly myself, I use Claude Code or like I use something else to actually go and build this out for me. But another thing you can do is you can also like talk. You can also about this task list. You can just talk to right here. So you can say like, can you list the tasks for me?
Hmm.
And it's gonna be able to find that deeper knowledge and be able to like list it all. The yeah, see, it's able to find all the tasks, and it's gonna tell me right now, like all the tasks that is created, and then all the severity ratings and all that good stuff. And then you can ask it to either remove tasks, edit them, and then once you feel like you've like for example, let's say I don't want to have like, refactoring tasks. I can ask it to remove all refactoring tasks,
Hmm.
and then it's gonna go ahead and do that. It's gonna just delete them all off the thing. Yeah, there you go. They're all gone. And now when I open the task list, we can see I have less tasks. And then when I copy the prompt, it's going to remove those tasks when I give it to Claude Code, for example. And yeah, you can just talk it. You can just like add tasks to it, remove them, and things like that. And it gives like when it actually like copies the prompt to Claude Code, it gives like all the right context to Claude to actually be able to solve all these. And that's the workflow. You're just done. There you go. Your code base is now secure.
Nice. This is pretty good. If I have multiple things happening serially, how do I keep track of these things? Because if I'm running 5 different agents on your in your product, and yeah, let's say I'm a guy who's reviewing multiple uh, builds, multiple product in a larger ecosystem, right? I have 4 teams that are reporting to me. I have different things happening, and I'm kind of reviewing everything in one. I'm just kind of using this as my one tool to kind of review everything. Is that possible?
Yeah. So we have a dashboard. With a dashboard, you can see like all your whatever's currently working. Right now we can see like all the issues you find, the amount of tokens used, the amount of messages you send, when you sent them, how you sent them, and
Okay.
things like that. And you can also, we're working right now like on a new feature to be able to actually like track your active, like I guess Polarity Paragon workers. So you can see like which ones are active, what are they reviewing, and you can also track your deep review sessions. So you can track every session, and you'll be able to see like all of the like a I guess a summary of all the issues and things in the dashboard interactively.
Okay. And how resource intensive is the product when you're running multiple agents on this?
Not at all. Everything's handled in our cloud. So we have a proxy that you pass it over to like our servers and our system. So you don't have to worry about anything. You can like same thing as Cloud Code.
All right. Um, yeah. Vision for the product. Where do you see it in a year from now?
Well, like my like final goal with all this, right, is like I really believe in like developers should be focusing more on like innovating and like shipping like cool features, right? Like I think like that's the future for like a lot of companies and things like that. Like they should just focus on like for example, like Shopify should just focus on making the merchant's life better and shipping features. Not focusing on like fixing bugs or fixing things like these or like just like going around and fixing like stupid things that they don't want to do, right? Like I was working an entire month on just like bug fixing at Shopify, or like fixing documentation or like reviewing code. And I was like, there's no way I spend a month of my life like shipping nothing useful to like users, right? And I feel like that's one way that we can accelerate just like humanity's entire software growth just in general by like allowing these developers to like stop reviewing code and stop focusing. And it's really a crazy thing to say now, like just don't review your code, don't do this, don't do that. But we're working towards a future where that's actually possible. And developers can all they can do is like code with Claude, verify with us, and ship it. And they know that whatever they shipped out is like of the good, of highest standard, good quality, the best possible format. And all they have to focus on is that it works. Once it works, you're done. You just ship it.
Interesting. I would my ask as a person who's building products would be to have a button in all these products that is linking to Paragon, wherein I click and it just sends my app to you guys and review, and I get a review report with recommendations that I can just again one click add into whatever tool I'm using to build the product. So it kind of completes my workflow for me. That'll be pretty awesome.
We're
Yeah.
working actually even like on an MCP server where you can just connect to anything that has an MCP, you'll be able to connect our review to, and just have a review from there and get the suggestions. So that's kind of
Yeah.
like what we're
Nice. Okay.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm from Polarity Labs, and we're building Paragon, which is the world's best code review agent, which lets you basically like vibe code and then push out highest quality code as fast as possible, basically like perfecting all your code base. Yeah, we're the best in the world.
Super. All right.
Perfect.